Hi everyone, it is Krista with Abiding in Jesus, and I have this week's challenge for you. It's called Leave Your Coffee at the Door. And I'm going to get straight into the story to explain how I came up with the name of this of the title. I was at church a couple of weeks ago, and I was in the middle, like the middle of the middle. Couldn't be more in the middle. And a family came in late. We were already worshiping, probably at the end of the first song. And a family came in with two other people. So it was a lot of people. And so at least about 6 of them, maybe more. But they had to kind of, come through and say, excuse me, to the people that were there. And they were worshiping, but they all had to sit down in order to let them through. Then they were right in front of me. They started right in front of me to my left. It was the young girl that was right directly in front of me. And I noticed that she had what looked like a breakfast biscuit with cheese. The parents had their coffees, their fraps. It looked delicious. And the boy had something to eat, but I didn't see what he had. They probably got the coffee. We have a coffee shop there at the church, and they probably got it there. But that was the first thing I noticed was, okay, why are you letting I'm not going to be judgmental here, but it's going to come off that way. Oh, well. But it's like, okay, it looked like they got a late start. So the young girl is eating her breakfast there in the sanctuary. And the parents have their coffee. They go directly into worship, which for me, my first thought was, we're in the middle of worship. We're at the end of this. We've been worshiping probably for about 4 minutes. You come in, it kind of just disrupts the flow. And then you go directly into raising your hand and worshiping. And then within minutes, the little girl has to leave. And I believe the mother went with her. So I have to watch everybody that they're going through, sit back down so they can get through. And then they return. And shortly thereafter, the little boy has to go, I suppose, to the restroom. He goes by himself. And then the parents are constantly turned around to see if he's come back into the sanctuary, because it would be easy for him to get confused which row his parents were on. But they were constantly turned around. So here we are, we're worshiping. I think at that point, we might be into the third song. But they're constantly turned around, and it's disrupting. I would say it's disruptive for me. It's distracting. That would be the word, more or less the word. Now, they were apologetic to the people they had to say, excuse me, to get in and out. They were definitely apologetic. I believe they are probably members of the church, because the gentleman had a shirt on of the church, which I think you would only have if you were a volunteer of some sort there. Okay, so that's important to note, because I know a lot of you would go, well, what if they're non-believers? What if they're just guests? No, we're not talking about guests here. So the boy finally comes back. So they stop turning around because of that. And then shortly thereafter, still do not think we've gotten into the message yet, the girl and the mom leave again. And I'm thinking, well, she probably has to go to the restroom because she ate and was whatever drink, maybe she had something to drink earlier. But then she comes back, and when she comes back, she has a Sprite. And at that point, I just think, are we at a concert? Do we have no reverence for the church? Do we have no reverence for worship, for our preaching that we're there? Why are we at church? And it reminded me about a year ago, I was listening to Kent Christmas, and he made a comment. Don't quote me on it. I do not know exactly what it was, but I'll tell you how it convicted me. And he was talking about, we come in with our coffee and we sit back and we just expect to be entertained. And when I heard that, then I was convicted, because I was that person that would run by and grab a coffee from the coffee shop and then come in and have my coffee there, just kind of put it in the floor. And at this particular church, it was a small church, so you didn't stand up the whole time of worship a lot of times she sat down. And so when we sit down, I'd have my coffee. And I was convicted because I just thought about it. I thought, can I not go into the place of worship with the expectation that the Lord is going to be there and be okay with not having my coffee for an hour? Can I not get up earlier to have my coffee to wake me up, or to leave earlier to go pick it up? But no, I was bringing it in as if this was just another day. It's just another concert. It's just another building. It's just whatever. Basically, I was doing there what I could do at home. And it convicted me. It convicted me. And so I stopped doing it. I mean, I would just, if I couldn't get my coffee earlier, I just didn't even get it. Now I do bring water in because sometimes you cough and you need something to wet your throat. But so that is why I bring up this challenge to you, because it can be very distracting to not only come in late, but even just the fact that you have your coffees and your biscuits and your food. It's like, what are we doing here? This is the place of the Lord. A suggestion for you young parents that are bringing your kids in that are first grade and up. My daughter is now 18. This is February 2025 that I'm recording this. And we went to a big church when I was raising her. It was a huge church. I sat on the front row. So when she started coming with me, what I did was prepare her at home. So we would train. It was child training. I would set her in her little chair and I would tell her to stay there. And we would go 5 minutes, then 10 minutes, and I would work her up. And I would give her what I would be giving her at church, whether it's a coloring book or if it's a drawing thing, because I was a homeschooling mom. And so at kindergarten, I started homeschooling. And one thing it's important to note with kids, a lot of times if they draw or color, they can still hear. They're still listening. And I would find that out with her because she would be able to tell me something about what the preacher talked about, who's talking to adults. She could tell you what she heard. But if you had looked over at her during the service, she's sitting here coloring and drawing, and because my mom had gotten her a device where she could draw, and then she hits a button and it erases it so she could draw again. And of course, they always hand the young kids little bulletins where they can color on them. But I trained her at home. So that is my suggestion to you. Train your child at home, because it's not fair to expect them to be able to sit there for an hour or more when they haven't had the practice to do it and they're so young. So that is my suggestion. And another suggestion that I have is if you do come to church late, that's happened to me, just sit on the back row. It's not my favorite spot at all, but just sit on the back row, because if they're already worshiping and you're coming in and you're having excuse me and they're having to move back to let you in, it's just distracting for them. So put the other people first. That's my challenge to you, is put them first and just sit in the back. The second thing, probably the most important thing out of what I'm discussing right now, is go to church expecting the presence of the Lord to be there. And go with a reverence. You're about to enter a holy place, a place that you're expecting the Lord to be. And put your coffee up. Throw your coffee in that trash can right before you enter the sanctuary or the worship center, wherever you go to do your worship and to hear the preacher. That's the challenge. It's an easy challenge. We've all kind of done things like that and come in late and went further to the front, not thinking of how it was distracting. We've brought in our coffees. We've just not been considerate of others, and definitely not considerate of God. So we can all be guilty of that. But we're a work in progress. And our goal is to look more like Christ, is to abide in Jesus. and to abide in Jesus is to become and to look more like him. That's it. That's your weekly challenge. So when you go to church, either today, if you're seeing this early, or next Sunday or Saturday, whatever day you go, just keep that in mind. And I think you're going to find when you go to church with a reverence to the Lord, a holy reverence, you're going to get a different experience out of it. So, well, that's it. Have a great week, and I'll see you next time.